Hello everyone, welcome back again. My name is Jesse, and in this wonderful and exciting tutorial, we're trying to explore a very nice package called Turi Create, right? So this is a very nice alternative in case you are trying to work with scikit-learn or you're trying to work with Pandas, and then you want to be able to do some machine learning stuff. So this library, Turi Create, was invented or was developed by Apple, and then it's very useful in case you want to do out-of-memory computations, right? So let's see how to work with this particular package. So by the end of this tutorial, I'll be trying to see some basic stuff we can do with Turi Create. Then you try and work with a real project on text classification using Turi, right? Like Alan Turi or Turi Create. I don't know how they pronounce it anyway. So we'll be using Colab to help us work with our work to make it easy for us. So that's what we are working on. You can also install it on your system, but you have to make sure that you have Python 3.9, right, and downwards. Okay, so let's see how to work with it. So to install it on your system, just go with pip install Turi Create, right? And it's having a lot of features. It allows you to be able to focus on the task instead of algorithms. It simplifies a lot of things for you. You can do some simple explanation. It's just like a unified library of scikit-learn, right? Something like scikit-learn and then pandas together with some plots. It allows you to be able to work with text, images, audio, and some interesting stuff. And it's also very easy for you to export your models you have built, right, to core ML, so that you can use it in iOS tools, right, because it was built by Apple, of course. So let's see how to work with this wonderful package. So I just go back again to my Colab. I'm going to install it with exclamation pip install Turi Create, right? That is how to install it on your system, right? I'm going to install it on our system, and that's what we'll be trying to use in this wonderful tutorial. It's going to take some time for it to install. You have to make sure that you are connected to the internet, and this is Colab, right? Okay, so whilst it's installing, so it's taking some time for it to install, and let's see how to work with it. So this is going to be our first app. So I'm going to load the package after that's installed, and then from there we're going to be doing some other interesting stuff. So as we said, we just do some simple basic stuff: how to read CSV file, how to create data frames, and how to do some basic data manipulation. Then we'll move on to the text classification with ML, right? So take some time for it to run. So in case you have any question or contribution, you can also check the questions below, the comment section below, and then you can let us know your contributions, right? Okay, so that's finished. It's taking some time. So let's import the package. So I'm going to import the package. So import Turi Create as TC, right? That is the convention, right? Import Turi Create as TC. Perfect, that's finished. So now I'm going to import Turi Create as TC, and let's explore the various things we can do with this wonderful package. This is going to be the methods and an attribute of this particular package, right? So dir TC. I always do this to help us know what the package contains. So with this wonderful package, we can do some interesting stuff. We can work on classification problem, on clustering problem. Like you can do some DB scan, right? Still clustering, decision tree classifier. You see that the naming of this is totally different from the naming of the same name, but it's using underscore, unlike in scikit-learn, right? So very simple. Almost every algorithm that we use, we are familiar with scikit-learn, can also be found here. So decision tree classifier, decision tree regression, we have evaluations, we have extensions, we have graph analytics, we also have k-means, we have linear regression, we have logistic classifier, KNN, we have a lot of things, right? And you can also do some plots. So let's see how to work with this wonderful package. Okay, so I'll just go back again and let's see our first task. So the first one is that how to create data frames, right? So with Turi, we can do a lot of things. Turi works with what is called the SFrame. So SFrame is a scalable tabular column-mutable data frame object, right? That is what it works with. It's working around not Pandas data frame, it's working around SFrame. That is what it's working around. So let's see how to create a simple data frame. So there are several ways. So the simplest way is that there's going to be method 1, right? Method 1, method 1, right? So this is how to create a data frame from, we are using one from a dictionary, right? That is the simplest one. So it's going to be the same thing. So let's go to my example 1, right? Or we can just give it as, say, data frame 1. Or let's go to S, right? S1. Then I'm just going to create a simple data frame, right? So it's going to be my, let's go df1. It's better we call it df1. Then I just give it my tc.sframe. If I go with .SFrame, you can see that we can do a lot of things, and I can now pass in whatever I want to do. So I can pass in my data. So the data I can pass in can be a Pandas data frame, you can pass in a CSV file, you can pass in any other stuff, right? So let's pass in a dictionary. So I'm going to call this my test dictionary. I'm going to pass in my simple list, right? So let's say there was an earthquake, right? Yeah, because that's what we're doing. Earthquake in, say, last, yeah, something like that, right? So this is a simple way of creating a data frame, right? Very simple. If I go back and I go with this, now I can see that this has created a simple data frame with only one column header. So the column header is going to be this, right? So the column header and then the data. That is how to create a data frame from a dictionary. Very simple. You can also use Pandas to also do the same thing. So in case you also have a Pandas data frame, right? So this is for Pandas. So there's going to be a method 2, right? From Pandas, right? In case you have Pandas, you can also just go with, let's say, your data frame from Pandas to pd dot whatever the data frame is like. Let's say data frame from Pandas, whatever your data frame is, right? In case you are coming from Pandas, you just put in your data here. So let's use a dictionary. So let's go to, say, age, right? And let's put in some values there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that, right? So this is a simple data frame that I'm creating. So import Pandas as PD, right? And I'm going to create a simple data frame, something like that, age. So this is a simple data frame I've created using Pandas. Now in case I want to read from this particular data frame I have into SFrames, right? I can just go back again and go with my df2, right? And I'll just pass in my tc for Turi Create SFrame, and I'll pass in my data. Let's go to my df. So this is the second method, right? So it's going to convert the Pandas data frame into a Turi Create SFrame. So if I go back and I check it out again, see that now it has opened it perfectly for us. Very cool. And the nice thing about this is that it always gives you information about whatever data that you have out of the box. So if I check for the type of the previous one, so let's say print the type of Pandas, to type for the Pandas, and then type for the Turi SFrames. You can see the difference between them. So the first one is what Pandas, and the other one is what SFrames. So that is how to load data set, right? You have seen two methods from Pandas, which everybody uses, and then you can also see how to do that from a dictionary. Now let's see the next method, how to read data from a CSV file, right? Because most of the time you also be reading from, so reading data from CSV, right? So you can read data from several formats, but let's work on the CSV. So it's going to be simple. So I'll go back with df, then pd, no, not pd, but tc.sframe. Then I pass in my data, right? My CSV file. So that is a basic understanding. So let's pass in my CSV file. So I'll go back to my folder here, my files here. I have nothing here. So I'm going to be loading a data set from here, right? So I'll open it here. This is the simplest way. And let's pick this particular data set here. So I'll pick this. Let's pick this one here, the tweets. I'm going to open this particular data set. So, okay. And I'll be reading that particular data set. So that is the simplest way of reading a data set, right? So I just pass in that particular data set here, which is the disaster tweet. So that data set can be found here, as you can see. That's uploaded it, disaster tweet, disaster tweet .csv. So this is the second method, right? So in case you want to read a data set from a CSV, right, into SFrame, just go with this option. It's going to read it perfectly for us. So it's going to give you some information, which is very cool. It's going to give you some very, very cool information. Now let's check it out. So in case I want to display the result, or display, or preview, right, you can just go with df.head, just like in Pandas, right? And it's also going to work perfectly for us. It's going to read this particular data set for us. And you can see the result, right? So the keyword, the location, the text, and the target. Very simple. So you can also display the first 5 rows. So in case I want to display first five rows, right, it's going to be my df.head. Now pass in, let's say 5. It's going to return 5, right? Very simple. So it is similar to Pandas, right? Very cool. That is how to display. Now in case I want to check for the shape, so let's check for the shape. I just go with df.shape. You can also get the shape of the data set. You can also get the number of columns. So number of columns. So df.num columns, right? And it's going to give you the number of columns, right? It's supposed to be a function, right? Not an attribute. So I have to close it. So this is going to give you the number of columns, right? Which is the same thing here, 5. And I can also get the number of rows. So number of rows is going to be df.num rows. It's supposed to be a function call, not an attribute. That explains why it is saying the bound. Perfect. So that is how to work with this wonderful package, right? Very cool. Now let's see how to check for the column names. Right, in case I want to get a column name, just go to df.column names, right? So you have column names. So this is going to list the column names for you. So these are the column names. In case I also want to get the data type, so there are two ways. The first method, this is going to be method 1. Just go with my df.column type. So that is the first method, right? If I go with this option, it's going to give us the data type for the column. So integer, right? Integer, string, 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 integer, right? So this is method 1. You can also do the same thing again using the d type, that is for data type. So to check for data type 2, right? Data types, right? It's going to be my method 2. In this case, it's going to be df.dtype, not d types, but d type, right? So this is going to give us the option. It's not, in this case, it's not a function call. it's an attribute. Very simple. The same thing above. So that is how to do some simple basic stuff with Turi Create SFrames. Okay. Now let's move on from here to do some other stuff. So in case I want to do some selections, which is very simple. Selections, right? Selection of data, right? Of columns. So how do I select columns, right? So there are several methods. Can just use the normal syntax. So df is I want to select the test column, right? I can also use this one to select the test column. Perfect, right? I can also move from this particular option here to use it in case I want to. This is the first method. The next method is I can also come back again, and instead of using this option here, I can just go with dot select, then column, right? So for singular, right? Selection of singular or only one column. Perfect, right? So I'll just pass in the column I want to select. So let's say I want to select the ID column. It's going to select the ID column for me. Very simple. That is how to make some selections. Again, in case I also want to select multiple columns, right? Select multiple columns. You can also do the same thing like in Pandas. Just pass in here, right? And pass in. Let's say I want to select the target too. So target, right? So this is going to be the second option, right? So it's going to select the two of them for us, right? Very cool. So that is another way you can also select, right? This is for multiple columns. I can also repeat the same thing we did using the select function. So the select function here, which was this option. So I just go back with dot select columns, not columns, columns. Then I'll pass in my columns I want to select, right? And this is going to select the columns for us. So sometimes it must, in case you are selecting columns, this one must also be inside a list, right? Because you are selecting multiple columns, and you just pass in here. Perfect. So these are the main ways you can actually do some simple column selection. In case, let's say you want to drop a particular column, right? Let's say we had our column here. If I go back and I check my data, we had this particular data set. I want to drop one of them. I want to drop a particular column. So I want to drop the location. You can also do the same thing. So df dot drop. You can also do group by. So you can drop NA, you can drop duplicate, you can do all of these things. You can even convert the entire stuff into DataFrame. So let's move on from these things. So these are the basic stuff you can also do using this wonderful package. You can also do a simple plot in case I want to do a plot. I want to do a simple plot, right, of the value count, right, of a particular column. It's just going to go with simple. So df, I'll pick the column, which is the target column, and I just go with dot plot. That is all. So this is going to plot that particular column for us. Very intuitive, right? So this is how to do that. So that's giving us a very nice plot of the value count, right? So this is a value count. Very nice. You can also do some modification of this plot as you wish, right? You can add some various features there. You can also get the entire stuff. You can save it here, right? You can also add some more parameters in case you want, right? So this is up to you. this is just the basics of working with Turi Create. Now let's see some other basic stuff you can also do. You can't, there's nothing like describe or something like to get the summary of the entire stuff. It's very different. So to check the various things you can do with just create df, right? And you can see all the various things you can do with this particular package. You can do some, you can add columns, you can add row numbers, you can append, you can apply, you can copy, like make a copy like in Pandas, you can export, you can drop duplicate, you can group by, you can pack cells, you can split, you can remove columns, you can remove columns, you can sample, you can save, you can select columns. All of these basic stuff you can do. You can also get the unique values, right, for a particular column. Like in case I want to get the unique values for a particular column, so df, let's say target dot unique, just like in Pandas. You can also get the unique values there, right? So there are a lot of things. So there are a lot of things you can also do with this wonderful package, right? Very simple. You can also apply a particular function. So in case I want to apply an external function to it, I can also do the same thing. So let's say I want to apply a function. Let's import any test. So we had our data set here, target, right? Our test, and then there are a lot of things there, and I want to actually apply something. So in case I want to apply a particular function, right? I want to apply a function, right? So I can just do a lot of things. So our data set, we had it like this. So df dot test, right? We have some tests, and I want to apply, let's say, a simple function on it, right? To compare them to lowercase, I can just go back again to this option, dot apply, just like in Pandas, and I can just use lambda. So lambda x, then x. This is a long way, but string x dot lower, right? So I can actually apply a particular function to it, right? So it's very, very cool and very simple. You can also use some basic stuff. So there are a lot of things you can do with this wonderful package. That is a simple overview of working with this wonderful package. Now let's see another stuff you can also do. As I said, you can also, in case you also want to show value count again, right? Show value count of a column, right? How do you do that, right? So you can just do the same thing we saw using the plot. You can also use this option, the target dot show. So it's going to give you the distribution, right, of that particular column, right? Very simple. This will work on any column, not just that one. You can also specify whatever you want to do. Very cool and very simple. Distribution of values for that particular column using the dot show. Let's see how to save your dataset. So you can also save the dataset to different formats. Right, so in case you want to save the dataset, you can also save it. In case you also want to add another column, you can also add another column, as you have seen. So it's going to be this option. So let's first of all let's see how to delete some columns from it, and then before we save it. So I'm just going to go back here, and I'm going to go in df dot right remove, right? You can actually remove a column. So let's remove the column for the ID, right? And it's going to remove the column ID from our entire data set, right? So now the ID column is no more there. It's only the location and arrays. So that is how to remove columns or delete columns, right? So you can actually delete columns. So let's delete these columns, and then let's delete the keyword, location left with the test and the target, and then in the next session we use it to help us do our task. This is going to be remove or delete columns, right? And also add columns using the same thing, add a column. So let's remove multiple columns. Right, you can also do group bind and all of these things. So it's going to be my df dot remove columns. So let's take off the keyword. We want to take off this particular waste there. We had the keyword and then location, right? Because we don't need them for the next session. So keyword and then location, right? You can also specify in place is equal to true, false, right? In place is equal to true, or in place is equal to false. You can also remove it like this. So in place is equal to true, right? And it's going to remove those particular waste there. So that's taking it off. Now I can also go back again and then check out the original one. So df dot head, just df. There you have the ones that we left, right? This one. So let's save this one and use it in the next session. So in case I want to save it, I can save it as this, my df dot save. So you can save it to different file formats, right? You can save it to SFrames. So let's go to say disaster data, right? .csv, right? You can save it to CSV. You can save it to SFrame. So different file formats. So that is how to work with this wonderful package, right? Very cool. So this is going to be to CSV. I'm going to save it to CSV. Perfect. I can also save it to SFrame. So let's call this data2.sframe. It's also going, you can also save it to SFrame, which is a binary file format you can actually read from. You can save it. I can save it in this frame, right? SFrame, and also in the normal CSV, right? And in case you also want to load it, you can also load it back again. You can just load it with tc, right? tc.load frame, right? So there's also sRay, in which in case you also want to work with it, there's sgraph and the rest, right? Perfect. So you can even load sRays, sFrame, sgraphs, right, as you wish. You can even load images, audio. So all of them are built within it, right? So if I go with SFrame, now I can just pass in my disaster dataset that I had and then load it back, right? And I can just go back and call it, let's say df2. So that is how to work with this wonderful package. You can do whatever you want to do. So thank you for watching this tutorial. So in case you have any question or contribution, you can just put inside the comment section below. So this was just a simple overview of Turi Create. So in the next session, we'll be trying to see how to do some simple text classification using this wonderful package, right? And you can see how fast it is, right? Remember, we are using Colab. Okay, so that is, we are done with this particular stuff here. Now next session, I'm trying to see how to work with this. So see you in the next session. Stay blessed. Bye.